Hey everyone, good evening. I had a couple questions both on YouTube and on my Facebook about the My Radar application. This is the one I'm using. At least this is how it appears on the Google Play Store. I'm not sure if it's available in iOS, and so this is what the app looks like. It's what it's called. Tommy, no, I don't pay for the subscription. It's a free app. There are some upgrades you can do to it. For like 2 years, I did do a subscription, and I stopped, and I'll get to that in a minute and kind of show you guys what part I was subscribed to. Anyway, so this is the app. I'll start at the top and kind of work my way down what things are. So at the very top, there's a little lock. Right now I have it locked for the sake of doing this demonstration. But what it does is it locks that portion of the screen on the same place. So if I move the map around, the pinpoint doesn't change, and the screen doesn't disappear, this section of the screen anyways. And I kind of demonstrated before, if you drag it down, it gives you other information, and I think it's pretty helpful. And so up at the very top, it obviously shows, you know, where I'm at, what the local time is, and the word forecast is pretty much indicative of the fact that I turned on the forecast feature, which is again a no charge option. And so hourly precipitation, it just kind of shows you what's coming, what's happening. Right now, as I look out the window, it's not snowing this moment, but it was literally about 3 minutes ago. It just stopped. And so I kind of do wish that little chart stretched out a little further, but they have other ways of giving you the same information. And so then here you have the hourly, which is kind of typical of what you would find like on the Weather Channel. And so, you know, as you can see, we're kind of expecting sunshine in the morning. I made a decision to stop. I was getting snow, and my travel time to here took a little bit longer than I was anticipating. I encountered stronger winds than I thought, probably about anywhere between 50 and 100 miles before the Ohio-Pennsylvania state line on the turnpike, and it was a constant battle with the steering wheel. You know, aside from your arms getting tired, it just kind of fatigues you. And it was snowing a bit more when I was getting closer to this particular truck stop, and I said, you know, it doesn't make any sense to keep going when the weather's supposed to be clear in the morning. My schedule allows for it. My delivery tomorrow is an open schedule, and my pickup heading to Texas from there isn't until 6 o'clock in the afternoon. And so I got all day to get unloaded. It makes zero sense to risk damaging the equipment, you know, injuring the general public or even myself. So I stopped. Very simple decision to make there. Anyway, and so the week at a glance, this is one I use quite a bit. It really does kind of help me decide, you know, if dispatch says, hey, I got a load going to Mayville, Wisconsin, it pays good and there's good paying freight coming out, you know, I'll slide this thing over to Mayville, Wisconsin, and kind of run it back and forth and say, well, you know, look, there's a lot of precipitation here. And so I am leaving the area. As I mentioned, I'm grabbing a load tomorrow afternoon, heading down to Texas, and aside from being cold, I'm not going to get any real bad weather down that way. And so, you know, what's at a glance on the regular screen as you look at it this way, you know, it shows you the current temperature, it shows you what the high and the low is going to be. You know, it says there's a 40% chance of snow, and then it shows you Friday, it shows you Saturday, And that's kind of cool at a quick glance. If I unlock this, what it'll do as you move the screen around, you can see those two crosshairs, and so that's how you can go look at another market. So right now I just positioned it over Columbus, Ohio, and so that's giving me kind of the current on Columbus. And now if I scroll this down, it shows me the same data, but specific to Columbus. And so this is kind of how I go about doing my trip planning, or even just coordinating with dispatch, you know, because dispatch looks at pricing, and they're trying to get you, you know, good rates and, you know, minimal deadhead, but they don't have the time to try and be a weather forecaster. I mean, they're smart enough to realize that if they try to book something to northern Michigan, you know, it doesn't take a whole lot of common sense. As soon as this settles in, it doesn't take a whole lot of common sense to know what's going to be up there, right? I mean, any one of us could have guessed that. And so I use this because, you know, if they say, hey, let's book you something down to Atlanta, you know, as we're having the conversation, I can look at it and say, well, Atlanta's clear until Saturday, but it really only looks like a little bit of rain. The weather's not really in the temperature range where you should get snow, and so why not? Anyway, so we went across the top. The very first circle there is your current temperature, where it says now. So for where it's positioned now, it's currently 39. It shows you at different time intervals. You know, the 47 degrees will be at 2 p.m. and at 11 p.m. it'll be 30. So that's giving you your projected high and low. The next symbol, the little moon, is telling you for nighttime there's a 0% chance of precipitation, and then it shows you Friday, a high and a low, and then it shows you it'll be partially cloudy. You know, sorry guys, I'm not the little cute chick turning sideways in a short dress, but I'm just trying to explain how the app works. Anyway, so I've shown you how you can move the map back and forth. Right now I'm just scrolling it with my finger. And so towards the bottom, where you see the time changing, that's kind of telling you how the clock is running as you're looking at the weather moving. So as we look at this and you see the clouds moving, that's in relationship to that clock. And then what's to the left and right of it, pretty much on the same level, is showing you like the different levels of precipitation. You know, the blue being light, green being moderate, you know, yellow being more intense, the red being really intense, and then the magenta color being, you know, severe. That's when you'll start getting the severe weather advisories. You really only see that like in hurricane type status. And so, okay, the bottom row, the very first one, basically locates the map wherever you are. And so right now I just moved it away. If you press it, it takes it right back to where you are. The next one shows you the map options. I run the gray. I find it easier on my eyes, especially if you're driving at night. If you add the roads, it kind of slows the map down a little bit in its refresh rate. And I run like 3 other mapping apps at once. I use the Google Maps, and then I run Trucker's Path, and I run Waze, all simultaneously. And so I don't really need a 4th one, I don't think, and so I don't run that. The aerial kind of does the same thing. It slows it down. The subscribe to aviation charts, that's, you know, if you're a pilot, if you get those, it shows you, you know, the different class of airspace. You know, you got the Alpha, the Bravo, the Charlie, and so on. You know, for you aviation buffs, you guys know what that is. I'm one myself. I did subscribe to that for a year, and, you know, didn't take a single flying lesson in that year, so I didn't renew it. The stuff below that I've never messed with. Don't bother with it. At least I don't bother with it. I'm not saying you shouldn't. So now I'm hitting the back button. Whoops. Not what I wanted to do. Yeah, well, that didn't help. Did I select that somehow? Apparently so. Okay. And so, if we move on to the next one from the map, where it shows the layers, these are the different layers that you can add to your map. I run the high def radar and the forecast, and then the warnings. You know, the warnings, the phone will start buzzing like you just received a text. Next day outlook, I think, is pretty important. It helps me make that split minute decision when I'm coming up to a truck stop and I need to decide, am I going to stop or I'm going to keep going. Today I obviously decided to stop. Fronts, I don't really put the fronts in. I might turn that on when I'm stopped, and it kind of makes it a little bit more clear, you know, where the whole weather, you know, how it's generating its power basically, and how wide that front is. It'll show you more places that'll be affected. But the reality is, if you move that little cursor over the city you're looking at, you know, you'll get the forecast and it'll tell you the same thing without trying to study, you know, meteorology, you know. Anyways, aviation layers, that's really cool. For the aviation buff, it shows you the winds at different levels, and so if you're trying to catch a tailwind, you know, and you're going to get up into the flight levels, you know, above flight level, you know, 20 or whatever, that kind of helps you with your trip planning on your plane, because if you get yourself, you know, a 50-mile tailwind and you got a plane that can do 170 knots, all of a sudden you're pushing 230 over the ground, and that's pretty darn good. Anyway, I don't turn those on because it confuses the screen. Orbital tracking, I've never messed with, to be honest. I don't know what it is. Storm Chasers app, again, I've never messed with that. Couldn't tell you what it does. I got the earthquake notification on because, let's face it, I'm from California, and honestly, it's not very active. I actually have an earthquake app, and so it goes off, and I then know to call the wife and make sure they're okay. Wildfires, when they're active, and if I'm driving through the area, I might turn it on, but otherwise, you know, it's just more clutter on the screen. But this is kind of how I run it. It's how I like the screen personally. Everybody's got their own taste. You guys might set this up completely different if you decide to get it. The play button, honestly, it plays videos that people upload here. So you can upload almost like social media. But I mean, really, who wants to see an old guy in glasses? Oh, wait. You guys are watching an old guy in glasses. Sorry, I had to. Anyways, so yeah, you can watch videos. They're typically weather related. I kind of use this as a work tool. Don't bother with all that. This is so you can actually upload weather and you know, put it in different places. Again, don't really have time for it, so I haven't messed with it. As you can see, it says begin registration. Never did it, never bothered. The next thing is to share. You can share like screenshots or short videos. I'll warn you that if, like, I'm using an Android, if I send it to someone with an Android, it works great. If I send it to my wife who uses iOS, she says the screen locks up and it doesn't work well. So, you know, just be warned with that. The next button is your settings, and so you can kind of tell it how you want it to work. You can see, you know, what I've set up. Nothing really major there. I mean, most apps have a page like this. Anyway, that is the application that I use, a little more in-depth review. If you guys are interested in using this, that's kind of what it is. It is free. There's only a handful of things that you can upgrade. Of course, the drawback is at the very bottom. There's a little bit of an ad there, and yeah, they show up constantly, and it is what it is. If you scroll the weather down, they usually drop in an ad. There it is, and I think they drop in one more at the very bottom. But it doesn't bother me, doesn't affect me, and I think paying for the app or not paying for the app, I don't think it makes that big a difference to me, guys. I just get it for free, and it is what it is. Anyway, real quick, I think I'll turn the camera on and show you guys why I picked this place to stop, aside from the obvious. How's that for some parking availability? And so, in my conversations with other drivers, what I've learned, I guess this is something I just never knew. The reason you see a cluster over there and another cluster of trucks over here, the trucks block the wind for each other. And so it's almost like they park next to each other because the truck next to you is going to block the wind and keep from rocking back and forth. The wind was howling through here pretty good a little bit ago. There should be more snow on the ground, but honestly, a lot of it was blowing sideways. It literally just stopped snowing like 5 minutes before I stopped making this video. But anyway, guys, that's about it. Just wanted to share that a little bit. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.